There's an incredible phenomenon that occurs every winter in the sky. It's not with the constellations, but with migrating geese. When geese migrate, they can be seen flying in a V-shaped formation. To us on the ground, it's a thing of beauty, but to the geese, it's essential for survival. Science has recently learned that the flock actually travels up to 71% faster and easier by maintaining this V pattern. If you watch them, you'll observe that at certain intervals, relative to the strength of the wind, the lead bird, who is doing most of the work by breaking the force of the wind against them, will drop off and fly at the end of the formation. It's been discovered that the flapping wings create an uplift of air, and the effect is greater at the rear of the formation. So the geese take turns uplifting one another. By cooperating and working together, the geese achieve long migrations that otherwise would be exceedingly difficult for even the strongest if they were to do it alone. Welcome to the 260 Journey, and welcome to 1 Corinthians 12. This is Paul's V formation for the church. It's one of the significant chapters of the New Testament for God's church, because it's in 1 Corinthians 12 we're taught how to fly. It's the chapter on the gifts of the Spirit. Spiritual gifts are tools to build with, not toys to play with or even weapons to fight with. Paul tells us something we all need to hear. Every believer has a gift. Listen to verse 7 of 1 Corinthians 12. A spiritual gift is given to each of us so we can help each other. They are gifts of the Holy Spirit, not our gifts. He owns them. And you might say they are on loan to us. Here's an important question. How do I find my spiritual gift? Practically speaking, here are a few simple ways to begin that journey. First, what do you find joy in doing? Another question is, what do you do that tires you, but it never burns you out? Another question is, what are some things you do that others are helped by or encouraged with? And finally, I'd encourage you, ask your spiritual leadership what they see as a dominant gift in you. There are 3 gift chapters in the New Testament: 1 Corinthians 12, which was today, Romans 12, and Ephesians 4. And God's purposes are designed around these gifts. The job of every believer is to identify and then employ their gift for specific reason. Listen to what Peter says in 1 Peter 4:10. God has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. It seems that every time the Bible reminds us that we are all gifted by God, he reminds us why. Peter says, use them well to serve one another. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 12, so we can help each other. When we identify our gift, we have just found our place in the geese flight plan, in the V. We are part of the V to move the church forward. Why does part of the body fall asleep at times? Because sometimes I'll sit on my foot and then it falls asleep. If it is doing what it's supposed to do, then it's never sleeping. When a church falls asleep, it's because people are not doing something and not using a gift they have been given by God. In order to be effective, we have to know where we belong in the body. Let me say one important thing. To pursue gifts without the development of character is to sabotage the platform that gifts provide. Gifts can get you a position, but character is what keeps you in that position. Don't separate the gifts of the Spirit from the fruit of the Spirit. We need both gifts and fruit in the church. The gifts provide a power far beyond natural abilities. By the fruit of the Spirit, the life of Christ is manifested, and by the gifts of the Spirit, the ministry of Christ is continued. Spiritual maturity is not measured by our gifts, but by the presence of Christ-like fruit. The fruit keeps the gift in check. We must be careful about letting the gifts replace the fruit as a standard of spirituality. Jesus said, you will know them not by their gifts, but by their fruit. I wonder if the Holy Spirit was being strategic to put the greatest fruit of the Spirit, love, right next to the gifts chapter. 1 Corinthians 13 is that love chapter. I think God was trying to tell us something that we're going to talk about tomorrow in 1 Corinthians 13. A.T. Pierson was a Bible teacher from an earlier era and said this: everyone has some gift, therefore all of us should be encouraged. No one has all the gifts, therefore we should all be humble. And all the gifts are for one body, therefore we should all be cooperative. And all the gifts are needful, therefore all of us should be faithful. Thanks for joining the 260 Journey.